today we are talking about Arcanine. This video will be about if Arcanine is a legendary Pokemon, hence its title, or if it was a legendary Pokemon, and if so, why was that taken away from it? So without further ado, let's start. The main thing that stems this theory is Arcanine's Pokédex stuff. Not just the fact that its Pokédex entries state that it was admired by the Chinese, which I doubt is true considering that video game ban, but what we're really looking for in the Pokédex is this, its identification as the legendary Pokemon. Yeah, that's pretty concerning, or questionable, or whatever you want to say about it. Like I said before, the Pokédex entries state that Arcanine appears in many Chinese legends. China is a region in Pokemon. Let's just go with that. That could be the source of its ID as a legendary Pokemon, in that it is a Pokemon of legends. But Austin, all the other legendary Pokemon are also usually of legends. Well, when we look at the Pokédex entries from other Pokemon games, we find that the legends were written long ago. Meaning that maybe the Pokemon was once legendary, but lost that status. Now, you're probably asking how that happened, and it works through a set of criteria legendary Pokemon tend to meet that Arcanine doesn't. First off, legendary Pokemon don't evolve. The only exception to that is Cosmog, but it's an evolution that was only just discovered within the story of Pokemon Sun and Moon, which is quite recent on the in-game timeline. In addition, legendary Pokemon can't breed, which kind of feeds into that evolution thing in a way. This also feeds into the third criteria that Arcanine does not meet, and that is no widespread availability. While Arcanine can be found relatively easily and is common in cities with police officers and stuff, true legendary Pokemon only tend to have one member of their species. In addition, Arcanine's stats are much lower than most legendary Pokemon, with a base stat total of 555 compared to the one of 680 shared by most legendaries and mythicals. So at this point, we basically have established that Arcanine is not contemporarily considered a legendary Pokemon. However, was it one in the past?
Let's find out!
On your mark, get set. We're riding on the internet.
Anyway, in the past, Arcanine could have been fewer in numbers. This could probably be because of the lack of fire stones necessary to evolve Growlithe. Considering that many of such stones are found in caves dug out by people throughout the Pokemon world, it could be safe to say that advanced digging had not led to the widespread discovery of the fire stone until recently, making the population of Growlithe be much larger than that of Arcanine. In addition, this factors in with the evolution criteria, as in the past, if there were few fire stones, many people would believe that Growlithe and Arcanine were not related, because it would be rare to see one evolve into the other. Another possible explanation to an ancient decrease in the Arcanine population was the Pokemon War that AZ talked about. That was 3,000 years ago. That seems like a long time. So considering Arcanine's relative strength, it may have been used a lot in the war. That could have led to a decline in the population, unfortunately, and then the numbers recovered over time to see what we have today. However, while the numbers were down, it probably became a legendary Pokemon if this theory is correct. And for stats, we could consider the availability of specific stats kind of new also. So to someone like 1,000 years ago or something, stats wouldn't really matter that much. You'd just have a powerful Pokemon or not powerful Pokemon. Now, why Arcanine would be considered a legendary over something like Dragonite? Well, Arcanine has a distinct, majestic look as it runs, the Pokédex says, and it goes along at very fast speeds. This sets it apart from something like Dragonite or other pseudo legendaries who don't really have much special going for them besides stats and moves. So that's my main explanation as to why it could have been considered a legendary Pokemon. One other minor theory I had was that Arcanine was actually grouped with Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. With Kanto and Johto being on the same continent and only, like 20 miles across each, the people of the combined land may have seen the Pokemon together and, noting their physical similarities, grouped them together. However, as technology and observations progressed in the Pokemon world, the difference in power between Arcanine and the legendary dogs, as many people call them, became evident. But that's the canonical explanation, that Arcanine was probably once considered a legendary Pokemon, but the title was retracted over time due to observation and research. But if you want Tajiri's point of view on it, they probably just didn't want two fire-type legendaries in Kanto, so yeah. But anyway, with all of these theories, there's bound to be some debate, so what do you think? Was Arcanine ever a legendary, or is it still a legendary? Please leave a comment down below. You could also subscribe to see videos like this twice a week. Regardless, I made this video last Thursday, and I will see you in the next video.